Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, often reviewing rare and exotic whiskeys. I'm not really sure how rare and exotic this one is. We do have a Whittle Jane here, Decadence, a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys finished in maple syrup barrels, aged to perfection. Batch 6, I have bottle number 440, 2023 vintage date, and we have here a 70 cl bottle with 45.5%. Now, there's the first thing that bothers me is on the website. If you go to widowjane.com and you go to their Decadence, it says there is no other word to describe this. We took some of our legendary 10-year-old bourbon and finished this in barrels that held New York's finest artisanal maple syrup from Crown Maple. Now, there is not a single mention whatsoever on the bottle of 10-year-old whiskey. If it's 10-year-old, put it on the label. I hate that. Now, there is a Whittle Jane 10-year-old. So, now let's go to the next thing that makes me a little bit peeved. It's not peeved, but it's just one of my pet peeves here. It's like, who owns Whittle Jane? So I poured a little bit so I can talk and rant and rave, and then I can talk to you. So on the back of the bottle, it actually says here, imported by Samson and Surrey International SL. I think it's an L, it's SI, in Spain. All right, Samson and Surrey is a very cool company, and they were bought out 2022 by Heaven Hill. This is a Heaven Hill product. Heaven Hill is one of the biggest family-owned whiskey producers in the U.S., if not in the whole world. So, now, thank you very much, Heaven Hill. What was very, very interesting is I bought 2 bottles of Few, F-E-W spirits from Evanston, Illinois, together with this. They just hit the market over here. And then I was looking, and I was looking, and I was looking. It's like, oh, crap, they belong to Heaven Hill also. I just did a podcast 2 months ago on my Bourbon News Deutschland as a focus topic on Few. I didn't know that Heaven Hill bought them. I didn't know that, I think they belonged a little bit to Samson and Surrey as well there. Huh. I thought they were still independent. But I'll talk about that and 2 other things. That's why we're getting whiskey. The importer over here for Heaven Hill is called Borco, B-O-R-C-O. And if you've ever seen Pennypacker bourbon, they put it on a container, bring it over here to Europe, just the liquid, no bottle, no glass. They bottled it over here in Europe, basically Hamburg, and then they re-import it in the bottle back to America. It used to cost over here, it's a supermarket, whiskey basically, very, very low shelf. It used to cost 9 euros. Now it's like 13 euros. In the States, I've seen it for 30, 40, 50 euros for the same thing. That used to also be a Heaven Hill product, no longer the case. So, crazy stuff here. All right, so what am I going to compare it to? I'm just going to compare it over here to Eagle Rare 10. Why? I love Eagle Rare 10. It used to be 32 euros, it used to be 34 euros, now it's more 38 euros, and it's always been available. I kept on saying, especially during COVID, especially during the tariffs we had on U.S. whiskey imports, that it's going to disappear. And it never did. Thank you, Buffalo Trace. We've never, at least in Germany, ever had a shortage of Eagle Rare. Never. I've had shortages of Bushmills. I've had other shortages of just supply drying up. We've always had more than enough Eagle Rare. I could say the same thing with Jack Daniels, but that's all right. But there are products from Jack Daniels that we don't, number 27 and gold and so on, but that's okay. All right, so now the next little thing is if you go to the website crownmaple.com, they're in New York, not that far away from Brooklyn, up there a little bit upstate. And there's not a single mention anywhere on their website or any place else I could find online of them using barrels to mature their maple syrup. Now, in my opinion, 2022 was the year of the maple syrup barrel finish. 2023 was the year of the Amburana wood, Brazilian oak wood finish. I don't know what the finish of 2024 is, the flavor of the year, but this is definitely a little bit behind the game. So, normal places do not age their maple syrup in wooden casks. Now, we do that with sherry, we do that with port, we can do that with beer, we can do that with wine. Maple syrup is not normally aged in wooden casks. Now, there are some people that have done it. You get a little bit of that wood moment going on in there, and very nice. Same thing like honey. No one ages their honey in a wooden cask. But of course, we had maple syrup finish, we had honey finish, and it's always the question of, did they just pour some maple syrup into the whiskey, or was it a real cask that held maple syrup or held honey for weeks and months beforehand? So this is something we just call, that's a marketing. All right? So if you can rebuke me and show me that I'm totally wrong with that, please do. But this is just marketing for me, all right? Marketing tastes good. I actually want to pull out my bottle here of Aunt Jemima, pour a little bit in the Eagle Rare, and then taste it and compare it. But I think this was very well executed. What do I mean by that? I had a Templeton, I think it was a rye, that had a maple cask finish. It was so overdone. It's actually as they squeezed the bottle and just poured in 10% maple syrup in, is what it tasted like. This is very, very, very balanced. This is nice. On the nose, I'm not even sure if I get the maple syrup. Here on the nose, I love my Eagle Rare. $39.90, $79.90, by the way. Here we have a Whiskybase number 248037. This was batch 6, 45.5. So I can get 2 of these for 1 of these at the moment. So on the palate, now I get the maple syrup without it overpowering this. This supplements, this extends the flavor profile into a direction that is not just sweet, but actually very, very nice. If you go to the website, and I stumbled upon this because I read the German translation. I was like, what's going on here? On the nose, we should get sugared pecans. Well, I get pecans a lot with my bourbon. Maple, it's a maple syrup cask. Birch beer, which I've tried, and I'm really not a fan of birch beer, but that's okay. I don't get it on the nose, and charred oak. And on the taste, I get, there's vanilla, burnt sugar, and cinnamon bark. Look at that, those little cinnamon sticks there. And the finish, we have the brown sugar, we have shortbread, we have mellow tobacco, and old whiskey. It tastes like old whiskey, it's 10 years old. And that's going to be my question of the day is, what is your favorite 10-year-old American whiskey? We just received over here in Germany Rebel single barrel 10-year-old again. So there's bottles on the market, almost 90 euros for that. This is 80 euros. This is almost 40 euros now. I have to really think of any other 10-year-old bourbons out there that we can have. I'm sure there's many, many more, but that's the question of, what do you think is your favorite 10-year-old whiskey from the United States of America? This is good. This is a B- in my book. This is very, very nice. Oh yeah, I have the Wild Turkey Master's Keep Voyage 10 with the rum cask finish. Bullet Bourbon 10, I forgot about. That's actually a steal over here for 34 euros still. Okay, the Russell's Reserve 10. Not that bad, actually. I might have to go buy a bottle of that again. 60 euros. We do have Whistle Pig 10-year-old, but it's made in Canada. I know they use Vermont oak, but it's made in Canada still. And that's about it. Oh, we have Basil Hayden's 10-year-old. Guess what it costs? 108 euros for Basil Hayden 10-year-old. I think Chad and Sarah were over here in London, And they said, what's that doing? And what's that price? And we're just like shocked at the prices we have to pay for it. Some things just didn't make sense. You can buy a Four Roses single barrel cheaper here than in America. And other things are triple, quadruple, 5 times the price you pay in the States. It just, sometimes there's no logic that I can decipher there for the prices. But what's your favorite 10-year-old whiskey? From the US. I said B minus. I'm going to give this a solid B. Value for money, C minus. I'm not willing to pay 80 euros for this. I'd rather have 2 bottles of this and make my own with my own Aunt Jemima or my own real Vermont, New Hampshire, or Canadian maple syrup. A good bottle costs like 5 euros over here, and you can do probably 20 bottles of that with one of those. I think what they might have done is they might have put that maple syrup in that one cask, used it, was like, oh, it's too much. Let's just put 2 barrels together. One was maple syrup, one was not, and now we're at the right level. That's not overpowering with the sweetness that I've had, and so I'm very, very pleased with the Decadence here. That is just so good. Oh, by the way, this is a blend of straight bourbons. Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana. I did, first time I smelled it, I was like, do I have Dickel? That's basically the only place I think I know of that has 10-year-old bourbon still there, are Tennessee whiskeys. And Fred Minnick was talking about the other day, there's an old, I think it was Bourbon Pursuit, an old law, maybe even from the 1930s, that actually said every bottle of bourbon has to have the state that it was made in. And when we used Kentucky straight bourbon, it's on the label. When we use Tennessee whiskey, it's on the label. So 95% of all bourbon basically is on the label. But when you start doing a blend of straight whiskeys from different states, then you always have to put the state it was made on there. That came up the first time when Templeton Rye was making, we made it ourselves in Iowa, and they were faking it. And it's like they had to pay back the customers all of them that they frauded because it was MGP juice. And now you can always see what state it's made in. It's always on the label now. TTB actually knows it and makes sure that the labels are now conform. But it had been gone for 70, 80 years almost. They had just disappeared. We forgot about that law. And someone pulled it out, and it's like, hey, okay, now we have to put the state of distillation on every bottle of bourbon. I think that's good. That's very, very good. I like that. More transparency, people. And if you want the most transparency, go to Bottle and Bond. Straight means one state. You can put 20 different distilleries in here, still call it a Kentucky straight bourbon. You don't have to put a blend of straight either. That blend is only when you have different states that you mix and match those together. Crazy, crazy, crazy laws here. Most people think single malt and think straight bourbon must be one distillery. Is not the case. Thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing, telling others about this person who rants and raves about the 10-year-old whiskey where the 10-year-old age statement is not on the bottle anywhere to be found. Slap the bottle like Jeff's whiskey, and that makes me less than pleased. So please put the age statement on the bottle if you advertise with an age statement like you did on your website here. So please, please, please take a look into that. Heaven Hill. Whiskey Jason says, thank you very much. What is your favorite 10-year-old American whiskey? Bye-bye.